Good evening, welcome to the latest live edition of Last Bell Boxing. Joined by, again, the Motley Crew. I think that's the best way to describe them, so I'll do a quick round robin. Sean, good evening.
Evening, fellas.
Daz, good evening.
All right, lads.
Lee, good evening.
Good evening, guys.
And Andrew, good evening.
Oh, only my mother calls me that, mate.
Moving on quickly. So, obviously, fight week for AJ versus Franklin. So, let's have a conversation about how we think this is going to go, predictions, etc., etc. So, I'll start with you, Andy. I'll just use a vague question. Tell me how this one plays out.
For the first time in a very long while, mate, I'm really interested in watching an AJ fight. That includes the two Usyk fights because I knew how they were going to pan out. AJ has to make a statement. You don't just need to win, Cole. He needs to win convincingly and in style. I get the feeling there's been a really big shift in not necessarily his fan base, but he's certainly not lauded the way he was in recent years with people, kind of, well, the ticket sales say it, don't they?
Yeah.
How many times in the past has it taken up to fight week for AJ to sell out a venue? He normally sells out within a couple of days. So it probably tells you the kind of perspective on it a bit at the minute. So I hope for AJ's sake, he comes in and deals with Franklin within a few rounds. But I actually think that he's going to come in and he's going to be really cautious because he's going to. I can't. This might get to points, mate. I think AJ will probably have him in trouble a couple of times, but then I don't think he'll go in for the kill. Be interesting to see what his new coach has done, whether he has instilled that bit of belief back in him that he can go out and just destroy people like he used to. Everybody, I'm sure you all think the same. Everyone's going to want AJ to be like that. But I don't see it happening in this first fight.
Okay. Sean, moving on to you, same question.
Yeah, I think a bit different, really. Put it this way, I think he'll do everything opposite to what Okolie should have done last weekend. I think he'll get Franklin out there in 4 or 5 rounds, and I think he'll want to put on a big statement, really.
Moving on to Daz. Daz, how do you think he plays out?
I think AJ stops him around 8 or 9. What I'd like to see from AJ is I'd like to see him get that bit of killer instinct back, but I'd also like to see him work behind that jab, be aggressive behind that jab. Do you know what I mean? Use that, double it up, and put that right hand, left up behind it, and really be aggressive behind it, but be aggressive intelligently. Don't just go out swinging. Be aggressive intelligently, and I think he can look. I think he can look good doing it.
Same question to you, Lee.
Kind of agree with what Andy was saying. I think he's going to come out a bit tentatively. I think he's going to start a bit. I think he's going to feel him out a little bit, and I think first few rounds, I think people are going to be asking questions like, "Oh God, what's going on here?" sort of thing. But I think as he develops into the fight and he starts using a bit more of what he's been learning with his new trainer, I think he'll get more and more comfortable. And I think between rounds 7 to 9, you'll see the AJ of old, and I think he'll put him away. I think Franklin has been cherry picked a little bit, and to be honest, I haven't got a problem with that. I think Fury's done that plenty of times. Wilder's done that plenty of times. Why should AJ get any more criticism than they do for it? But it's a rebuild for AJ. That's what it is. So he's allowed to have a fight, but it's not a gimme. But I do think he'll stop him.
What do you make of the comment by Salita, Lee, where he says he thinks AJ's accomplished everything he needs to, and he just thinks Franklin's going to be more hungry?
I'm not sure. I think I'd take what Salita says with a pinch of salt this week. I mean, from what I hear, Franklin's actually suing him for something or other. So I'll take what he says with a pinch of salt. And there's going to be a bit of backwards and forwards in fight week. That's what builds a fight. I disagree. I don't think AJ. He's basically trying to say AJ's washed up and he's achieved what he needs. But I disagree. I think AJ will be a world champion again. I think that will be because of belts being fragmented and that. But that's by the by. But I still think he's got the hunger for it. We'll find out Saturday night. But yeah, I think you'll see a new. I think you'll see. I'd say a new AJ, but more of the AJ of old.
Carl, question to you. Do you think that Dylan White's poor performance last time out made Franklin look better than he was? Or better than he is?
No, I think Franklin's limited. And I don't think AJ's gonna feel him out in this fight. I think he's just gonna take. I don't think Franklin sees round 6. I think it's gonna be a one-sided fight. Is my honest opinion. And personally, I think Derek James has had long enough with AJ to change him as a fighter entirely. But I just think he'll make him more aggressive. One thing about Derek James's fighters is they're all aggressive. And if you look at the gym out in Texas, it's probably just what AJ needs, isn't it? You know, away from the spotlight, a little bit of spit and sawdust, and getting back to basics. So,
We just mentioned this down the gym when we were chatting a minute ago, Carl, that, well, I did. I mentioned it to you that I'm not convinced that AJ can get over that mental block. I think that's always going to be there. I don't think he's... A coach can make him more aggressive, but when he gets tagged, do the demons come back? Is kind of what I'm asking.
we won't know until he gets tagged is the answer to that, isn't it? You know, honestly don't know. We'll soon find out. One thing Derek James will do is eventually change his style of fighting, isn't it? Maybe not yet, but in a couple of fights' time. But let's have it right. We all want to see AJ start coming forward and seeking destroying it. And that's what Derek James is known for. Couple of comments on the side.
He needs to take chances, don't he?
Yeah. Couple of comments on the side. Joe, good evening, Joe. Franklin has been brought in to make Joshua look good, and he will look good. Then the Hearn will start with the outrageous statements. Joe goes on to say, Derek James is a good choice of trainer for Joshua. He trains his fighters to fight on the front foot. I mean, there is rumours, isn't there, that they've already started negotiating the Fury versus Joshua fight for the summer. I know we don't want to go there.
That's ridiculous.
That's a rumour.
Eddie Hearn has denied that.
It's a ridiculous thing to even think about at the minute. Before AJ goes anywhere near the likes of Tyson Fury, he needs 3 or 4 fights. He can't be knocking people over. If that's what happens with Franklin, he can't be knocking Franklin over, going and beating an over the hill Dylan White, which I think most of you will agree with, and then going straight in with the best in the division. The same thing will happen with Usyk.
Just on a quick side note, I can't believe that they're talking about making White versus Chisora 3 as well.
They're not really, are they?
Well, they've started negotiations by all accounts.
White Chisora 1 is one of the best heavyweight fights I've ever seen.
It soon goes downhill, doesn't it?
At the time, yeah, not now.
It was a brilliant fight. You're right.
The first one was phenomenal, and the
problem you've got is they both
Chisora won that.
They're both nowhere near that level anymore.
No. You say they're not near that level. They don't need to be near that level. They just need to be on each other's level to make it a good fight. But I'm not sure everyone's calling for that fight.
So I'll go around the group. These 3 or 4 fights that I think I won't go as many as 4, but these 3 or 4 fights that we think AJ needs before jumping in with Fury, who would they be? Sean, who would you throw in with?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. It's just about this weekend for him, isn't it? But I guess probably maybe a Hrgovic or someone they'll put him in with, or a Zhang, someone on that level. And then, yeah, I guess if it comes through those sort of fights, and then they'll look to push him on further.
What about you, Daz? Who would you be eyeing up from a technical background?
Obviously, get this that way. Depending how he looks in this, maybe Ergovic, maybe a Joe Joyce, then Fury if he gets through them.
Lee?
Yeah, he just said what I thought. I think it will be Dillian White after this, but I think there could be a bit of a curveball with Joe Joyce, and the reason I say that is because he's sparred thousands of rounds with Joe Joyce. If he didn't think he could beat him after the 3 losses he's had, he wouldn't take that fight. Now, beating Joe Joyce would send out a hell of a statement that AJ is back. I think that would be the perfect win for him, but that is not an easy fight at all. He is like, Joyce isn't an easy fight for anybody. So if he could come through and beat Joe Joyce, it sends a statement, but it's a risk.
I tell you what, Lee. I think Anthony Joshua's made for Joe Joyce now. The only type of fighter that gives Joe Joyce trouble is a fighter with movement, like a Fury or an Usyk.
What happens if, let's say, Joyce has a war with Zhang? Because let's be right, every Joe Joyce fight is a war. We know he gets it. Every Joe Joyce fight he gets clouted quite a bit. Let's say it gets to the point where AJ has a couple of good wins. AJ v Joyce. Joyce gets old.
Yeah, flip it on its head a little bit, because everyone will look at that fight of AJ and Joyce and be like, "Oh, can AJ?" But flip it on its head with Joyce. Who has Joyce been in the deep waters that some of these other fighters have been in? Probably not. He's been in wars, but he's not been.
He's not had a crisis, has he?
You're saying, Lee, you're saying exactly what I said maybe 6 months, a year ago about Joe Joyce. Who's he been in with? What level has he been in with? Well,
he's been in with some good opponents.
You can argue. Well, you can argue. People can argue that Joe Parker's past his best.
Yes,
but
agreed.
Nobody has done to Joe Parker what Joe Joyce did. Nobody.
Agreed.
He beat him up. No one's done that. I don't think anybody would do that apart from maybe Tyson Fury. I think it's going to take someone like a Wilder to really hurt Joe Joyce. I don't think anyone else does. AJ's not the puncher that people make him out to be. He's not a one-punch concussive heavyweight.
But I think he'd hit hard enough to discourage Joyce, a little bit.
Maybe.
He punches in clusters, though, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think I think he can bang hard enough to, maybe. I'm not saying Joyce is if he gets it clean off, Joshua's going to go to sleep. But I don't think Joshua, like you said, he puts them together quite well.
Yeah, he does.
Anyone that can hurt Pulev can punch, because he's
tough as nails. I mean, one shot at a time, Joyce could probably ride and just take the sting out. But getting it with 3 or 4, 3 or 4 heavy shots, round after round,
this is assuming though, this is assuming that AJ gets around Joe Joyce's jab.
It's about tactics, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's and I'm sure Derek James had come up with tactics for that, as Joe Joyce's trainer Ismail Salas had come up with tactics to go against it. It's a bit.
Let's be honest, AJ's open for the sort of revolution that Sugar Hill brought to Tyson Fury, isn't it? That he turns him into a bit of a wrecking ball.
Yeah, and do you know what, mate? I don't see why he can't improve him. I'm not saying the impact's going to be the same, but there's no reason. Listen, AJ's one of the best heavyweights on planet. Let's be right. So
this area, you're right, mate. Yeah.
And if he comes, listen, you know, I'm a massive advocate of everything off the jab. You've seen me at gym. You've seen me at gym. You know everything off the jab. Whether you're using it as a solid ramrod, whether you use it as a distraction, whatever, everything off that jab. And AJ, if he gets behind an aggressive jab, it's a bloody handful for everybody.
You know, you bring up a really good point there, because I don't think he used his jab at all effectively in those two fights against Usyk.
He didn't. Do you know what, mate? If I don't know what I did it on, but I were asked about it a few times, and I said he's got to come in behind a double jab, treble jab, and throw that right hand left hook and basically push Usyk apart. Do you know what I mean? He's got to be aggressive on the front foot, but not silly. Because if he's silly, winging one shot, he's going to get punished. Do you know what I mean?
Just pick up the comments up on the side. So Joe says, if they're looking at the Fury fight, I doubt they will put him in with anyone dangerous. He goes on to say, to be frank, he got, I'm going to say, Joe George says, to be frank, he got badly hurt to the body from Bright Jennings. I suppose that was a mini crisis. Smithy D, good evening, Smither, says Dubois discouraged Joyce with big combos and Joyce adapted brilliantly with his jab. Joe says, there's a bit of fan of your own. Daz is spot on that Dubois came unstuck against Joyce throwing single right hands. So
yeah, I think that's what, maybe Dubois were thinking, that if I hit him, he's going to go, and got a bit, A
lot of people thought that though, Daz, didn't there? A lot of people.
Hey, listen, do you know the thing is, right? I thought that Dubois were going to hit him and, hit him enough to probably take him out with him 4 or 5. But if I'd have been training Dubois, I wouldn't have been going in with that game plan, just hit him.
Yeah.
It'd have been everything off a jab. Do you know what I mean?
Just going back to AJ a second. There's something that's always bothered me about AJ, and I don't think it's ever been corrected by any coach he's had. He's always seemed to have coaches that are aggressive, forward-thinking coaches. He don't seem to have a defensive coach. And anytime he gets tagged, he doesn't know how to deal with it. I don't think I'm explaining myself very well. He can't.
No, I understand what you're saying.
He can't ride his shot very well, and then when he does get hit, he freezes.
Yeah, you see, I'm a big advocate as well of if you're on attack. I do it a lot with Nick. You're on attack, and then they fire back, catch counter. Do you know what I mean? Basically, if you get clipped with a shot, limit it to getting clipped with one. Reset yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Where Joshua's default position is to fire back into it and forget about his defense.
How many fights of it years have we all watched where someone gets hit with a shot, fires back, and then gets hit with a stopper?
He either does that or he just freezes and he stands like that, but doesn't properly cover himself. He stands with his hands kind of 6 or 8 inches away from his face. So he's allowing all of the hooks to come in, uppercuts to come in, and he just doesn't move. He stands like that, kind of rigid.
Yeah, you see that putting Anzai. It's like you see a lot of fighters doing that. They come out straight away, hands there like that. I tell all my fighters that I've had it pass, listen, punch the gloves. Let them feel some power through the gloves. Psychological.
Yeah.
If you punch the gloves and they feel it through the gloves, in the back of their head, they're thinking, what's it going to feel like if it hits me clean? Do you know what I mean? It's just it can set the tone. I don't know. I get what you're saying with AJ. Sometimes he's hands eye and there's no real thought about maybe catching and firing back.
I just think it's something that's never properly been addressed with him. I rate McCracken as a coach, but he's not a defensive coach. I mean, you look at the two pro fighters he's had. Froch used to get it all the time, but it didn't matter with Froch because he had an iron chin. AJ gets it and he ain't got the iron chin, so it makes a big difference. And he just it's as though they were that confident in AJ's power and his finishing ability that no one thought, well, what happens if he gets clipped? What happens if he gets put down? What happens if he gets buzzed even? I mean, you look at even going back to the Dillian White fight, when he got buzzed off Dillian White with that hook, he froze then.
And also his gas tank. I've always been susceptible to his gas tank. It does empty the tank, doesn't it? You know,
I think that's improved a lot, though, Carl, over the years.
Well, we'll see, because it does look vulnerable late on for me. Couple
Do
of
you
comments
think-
on the side. Smithy D says, I personally think AJ has been shy of throwing combos since the first Ruiz fight. I know we've mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
Numerical counts. Good evening, numerical. I predict a Franklin win. Do you want to elaborate on that? Joe says, Joshua crumbles under pressure. He's a typical on-top schoolyard bully. Jack Gladman, good evening, Jack. AJ will win, but it's only because Franklin's tailor-made.
AJ, listen, AJ is what he is. I wouldn't be complaining about AJ getting hit and losing fights if he was doing it being aggressive. But the last few fights, he hasn't done that. He hasn't even been aggressive. So that the part of his game that makes him the dangerous AJ hasn't been there. So let's say Derek James instills that back in him.
He was a lot better in the second Usyk fight than he was in the
He
first. To be fair to him,
Yeah,
He was better. He was better, but still not good enough, though, Lee.
Not good enough, but I think a lot of people wouldn't be good enough against Usyk. But for me, I think he's lost sight of what makes him what he is. I think he's tried to learn the sweet science of boxing, and it's not something that just comes naturally to you. You just stick to what you know, and that's knocking people out. That's
Is the
what he's good at.
motivation there, Lee? He's made a lot of money. Is the motivation there?
I think the motivation will be there until he holds the WBC. Personally, he's made enough money as it is. If it was about money, I know he said about making money. I know he said that the other week, but that's because he's trying to tell you what you want to hear because he's fed up of all the crap he gets. But he's made enough money. He doesn't need boxing for money. He really doesn't anymore. I think he wants a legacy, and I think he wants that WBC. Now, people laugh at me for saying that, but I think he could achieve it. But he needs to go back to basics, and that's what he's trying to do, I believe.
Interesting.
Sean, give us your take on what you think AJ needs to improve on, if anything.
I think one of his biggest problems, and I think he said it himself recently, is he has sort of too many people around him telling him what he wants to hear rather than being told a few home truths. And I think under Derek James and whoever he's without in Texas, I think that will sort of almost rejuvenate him, and hopefully we see a completely different fighter.
Andy has said it's helped him not being top dog in the gym. If you think about the fighters in that gym at the minute, he ain't top dog.
Yeah, it kind of humbles you a little bit when you've got a unified pound for pound champion on the next bag, don't it?
So Smithy D said Franklin's a throwback type of fighter, a bit like Ruiz, fires straight back, which could cause AJ huge problems, especially if Franklin hits hard enough to hurt him.
He doesn't hit hard enough, though. You saw that with Dillian White.
No, he didn't show in the Dillian White fight that he does, did he?
No.
Good evening, Jack.
You're right.
Let's hope your audio's a bit better this week, or I'll be kicking you off sharpish. So, do you want to give us your breakdown of the AJ fight and how you think it plays out?
I think AJ will eventually get to him, but I think I do agree with A bit.
There we
he's
go
been
again.
a bit punchy. No, I do agree with you.
Your audio's
No, I meant your audio, Jack.
You need a mic like Lee. You need one of them fancy mics like Lee. That'll help you out.
I'd struggle to claim that on expenses. I do agree with Andy that a little bit punch shy in the last few fights. I think that killer instinct hasn't been there, but I think slimming down might have been the issue. I think because he's been coming in quite light for the last 2 fights by his standards, and I'm not sure I think that's a good idea for him. I know why he did it. It was so he could move and try and box with Usyk, but I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Was it also so he'd last 12 rounds, Jack?
Maybe, but I mean, he lasted 12 rounds with Parker, and
Parker
that
ain't Usyk,
particular-
though, is it?
no, but I don't think he would have beat Usyk that way anyway. So I know what he was trying to do, but I don't think it was ever
You
the
got to
right
learn.
move.
You got to learn your lessons from the first fight. You don't go into the first fight thinking you can outbox him. Have that arrogance that you can outbox someone. I mean, you've taken away the only strength you have over him is your knockout ability, and you've literally leveled the playing field against someone. The only thing he has against you is he's a better boxer. I know it is boxing, but you've got the strength, you've got the height, you've got the reach, the strength, everything. But you've gone down to his level and had a boxing match with someone. Why would you do that? And then in the second match, he improved. He did improve, but it's still pretty much the same game plan, which that's poor advice and poor way of sort of implementing anything.
100% agree with that. 1,000,000% agree with that.
He's hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Because had AJ boxed behind that double jab, boxed his way in intelligently behind it, a bit aggressively, and then opened up. I mean, when Usyk fought Chisora, is it just me who thought Chisora showed sort of the way?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And people were looking at me like, what? No. I says, listen, Chisora's getting in trouble. Chisora's pushed him about.
He nearly got him out of there, Dad, didn't he? He nearly got him out of there.
And if AJ,
Have you picked up on something with Usyk? Sorry, Usyk notoriously starts slow. If you watch the Tony Bellew fight, Bellew had success early on. Chisora had success early on. He starts slow. He builds into a fight.
Yeah, do you know what I think?
Power, hit him early.
You know what I think Usyk likes? To dictate the pace.
Yeah.
Even at cruiserweight, Gassiev had success early on.
Yeah.
If you take that away from him, listen, he's brilliant. The man's brilliant, and I like him. I'm a big fan. But if I'd got AJ and I were training AJ to fight him, it'd be,
jump on him.
Everything.
That's what you're saying.
No, not necessarily, but force him around. Use your feet intelligently. Step across him, trap him.
Basically, cut him off.
Yeah, everything behind a jab, but come with a big right hand, left hook.
He made him too comfortable, didn't he, Daz?
Exactly. If he'd have been intelligently aggressive, as I like to call it, put him on the back foot, behind that jab, he doesn't even have to land with the jab. That just gets him in, and then make him uncomfortable, like Chisora did. I mean, I'll be honest. When I thought AJ were going to smash him to bits, judging on what happened with Chisora, and I was there watching it like this. What's he doing?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Do you know what I mean?
If that-
I was like, what
It's as though every man and his dog in the world knew our AJ needed to fight that fight, apart from AJ.
And
it's a bit like hard good old Usain Bolt, how to win a marathon, isn't it? How AJ went into that fight.
It's just, I was just gobsmacked. I was literally gobsmacked, and I remember watching the second fight going, well, he's practically doing the same thing, but just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got a different coaching at this point, so you can't just blame McCracken. Because that coach can't have been saying the same thing. Surely, I didn't watch that first fight.
He was
Yeah,
in his
could-
corner anyway, wasn't he? He didn't even. Everyone says
Too
he
many
switched
voices.
trainers. Not really. It was a sidestep. This is what
Yeah.
this is what switching trainers is. What he's done now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
switching.
So Joe in the
confused.
sidebar says Joshua only has himself to blame. He employed the trainers. He should never have left McCracken. Smithy D says agree 100%. Should have gone in and bullied him. Chisora definitely showed you're not going to outbox him. Even if the Fury fight happens, Fury won't try to outbox him. He will impose his size.
I was about to say that Fury
big
wouldn't have
man,
tried to outbox him.
No, Fury would bully him. Fury would
Yeah.
lean on him,
He'd lean on him. Yeah.
bully him. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the thing is, AJ could have bullied him in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, it could have. Listen, I mean, Chisora showed the way,
Yeah.
and it's like, how has no one picked? How have they not? picked
Zora
it
had
up?
success, didn't he? He did have success.
Chisora had
Yeah, yeah.
success. It was Chisora's gas tank that almost let him down to an extent.
And Chisora is a limited fighter as well, might I add. Limited fighter.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
there is that.
Yeah, but I just think to saying, I mean, I'm in disbelief. I think AJ's. Was it said he shouldn't have got rid of McCracken? I mean, listen, how am I to criticise on McCracken, but that game plan were totally wrong.
Yeah. it
I
was.
don't think AJ was listening at that stage. I really
Totally
don't.
Totally wrong.
Yeah, but Carl, he comes back to his corner, and someone like McCracken's telling him he's doing well, and all of that. You need someone that's saying, "No, AJ, what the hell are you playing at? Get out there and knock him out." Do you think Sugar Hill would have told him he was doing well at that point? Because I don't.
Listen,
I
I
don't
would.
really understand though, Lee, because it's not like Ron McCracken has chastised Joshua in early fights, hasn't there? So I don't quite know why that wasn't done in this fight.
I think, for me, I think McCracken got to the point where he knew he was on the cusp of losing AJ, and he was worried about losing AJ.
I was
And
just
think
about
he
to
was
say the same thing, Lee.
telling
know-
him everything he wanted to hear.
Do you know what the thing is, though? For me, the plan should have been drilled in camp. You know, plan A, plan B, maybe a plan C. But to me, plan A, aggressive behind jab, walk him down, but intelligently, throw when you're up close to him and bully him. That would have worked for me. And to be honest, if he'd have gone out first round for me, and he hadn't have done what he's been told to do in camp, it'd have been, listen, you need to do what you've just been training to do.
Yeah.
Don't try and outbox him. You know, put it to him.
Is it possible? I agree with both Lee and Carl. They both said two things there that stick out, and that is this. There was too many voices in the camp. He had 2 or 3 coaches at one point, probably telling him different things. Has McCracken seen that and thought, "What's going on here? I'm meant to be head coach." Maybe he was feeling AJ wasn't properly listening to him in that build up to that first 2
But
seasons.
I don't think you can like put it solely down to that, because Fury had Ben Davison,
Oh, Jack, your audio,
second
man.
one. Ben Davison, someone else, and Ricky Hatton in his camp for the first.
I think Ben
Wilder
Davison
fights.
was the lone voice, though.
Yeah.
I don't think
Ricky Hatton's
He
Ricky,
was
looking
just
in
there
that
for the
corner, Jack.
experience.
no, I don't think Ricky really jumped in middle rounds. I mean, the only time that I've seen Ben Davison really involved in anything like that is the Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo fight,
Yeah.
when Mark Tibbs was giving
He
instructions.
went mad, didn't he?
So was Davison. Do you know what I mean? Which, you know, it's not my cup of tea. That it's got to be one voice.
I think he's gone for the I genuinely think he's picked the perfect guy now, because he's gone for someone who I don't think he gives a shit who AJ is.
Yeah,
I don't think it's about I don't think he cares about his status. I don't think he cares about his global profile, anything like that. I don't think he cares. But it's a good payday for Derek James, yes. But I think he's stripping back, and I think he probably has been telling him
But
a
in
few
the press,
hundred.
Lee, how many times in the press did he say, "I want to prove to my coach. I don't want to think he wasted his time." Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. So
Yeah.
he obviously
Discipline,
respects
innit?
him.
Respect and discipline, yeah.
Yeah.
100% agree.
So, a couple of comments on the side. Joe says it wasn't McCracken, it was Joe Clayton and Angel Fernandez controlling the corner in the first Usyk fight. I think we made the point. There's about 3 coaches. Joe said he didn't listen to McCracken. No, he didn't. Anything else on AJ before we move on? Bear in mind, we gave him 43 minutes.
Prediction.
Where does he go from here? Wins or loses?
No, I don't think he'll lose. I think he'll win.
Let's tie that in one then. So, Jack, with your audio, if it holds up, if he loses, where does he go next? And give us your prediction, or vice versa.
If he loses, I think he'll probably end up still getting the Dillian White rematch. If he wins, I'm a bit out there here, and I'm going to say the Wilder fight happens.
Prediction?
I think AJ stoppage round 9.
Sean, same to you.
Yeah, I don't even think he's going to lose, so I don't think it's worth considering that, to be honest. And I think if he wins, I think he probably fight someone like Dillian White, but I don't really want to see that. And I think he'll win in about 5 or 6 rounds.
Andy?
I don't think he'll lose either, but if he did, he'd hang his gloves up, especially if it was a poor loss. Prediction. I'll give you what I want to happen. I want AJ to stamp his authority on the fight and deal with Franklin in emphatic style in about 7 or 8 rounds. Do I think that's going to happen? I'm not convinced. It proves me wrong.
So what's your prediction then? You told us what you want to happen.
My prediction is I don't think AJ will come out aggressively. He'll probably get the stoppage though. I'll go back a little bit on what I said to begin with. He'll probably get the stoppage, but I'm guessing it'll be in the later rounds 8, 9, or 10. But I don't think it'll be as emphatic as we want it to be.
Daz?
If he loses, he's got to ask. He's obviously going to have to look at the manner of the loss, and then he's got questions to ask himself, that only he can answer. I don't think he will. I think he's going to look all right. I think he's going to be intelligently aggressive, and I think he's going to stop Franklin 8 to 9.
Lee?
He won't lose. I've said 7 to 9, but if I'm sticking to an actual round, I'd say he knocks him out in round 7. I think he's going to have a slow start, feel his way into the fight, and I think he'll knock him out in round 7.
I don't think he'll lose. I don't think Franklin sees round 6, so I'm going to go knockout round 5. I think it's going to prove to be a bit of a mismatch, if I'm honest. Where AJ goes next, I'd like him to jump in with Wilder, but I think he'll fight White next. So that's my prediction. So moving on, David Benavidez beat Caleb Plant at the weekend. I thought it was a very good performance, to be honest with you. I think he answered quite a lot of questions that people have been asking of him. So I'll come to you first, Lee, looking at time. So, Lee, how did you think Benavidez performed, and will he get Canelo?
No, he won't get Canelo. It was a good performance, a very good performance. I think he lost the first 5 rounds. I think if you're coming off of, I think Plant boxed really, really well in the early stages of the fight. I think it shows another level of character. If you can lose all of those early rounds and then come back and you've got to win pretty much every round from the middle rounds onwards, that shows another level of character. And I think he was flawless from round 5 to he was pretty much flawless. Plant's a tough. He's tough. He's a tough guy to beat, and you have got to beat him. And I think he got the better of him in the end. But Canelo next, no, I don't see it. Does he fight him further down the line? He has to, but I think it's sewn up for Canelo to fight Bivol after Ryder. I'm not sure who Benavidez will fight, but yeah, it won't be Canelo, unfortunately.
Daz?
Yeah, I was well impressed with him, mate. Well impressed with him. Pretty much echo what Lee said. Thought Plant started off really well. I was like, here we are. But then Benavidez just upped it, showed another level for me. And like Lee said, when he'll have known he lost them first 5, and then to react how he did, like I said, shows a lot of character. Very, very good. Very, very good fighter. Very impressed with him.
And
I think Canelo's going to have to be forced into fighting Benavidez. He won't do it. He won't do it willingly. He's already said he don't want to fight him. He won't do it willingly. He'll have to be forced. He'll have to be mandated for that fight to happen. And like Lee's just said, it certainly won't be happening in the next 2 or 3 fights. It probably won't happen this year. It might happen next summer, maybe.
Maybe Cinco de Mayo next year.
Yeah.
That would be a big fight for Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. Good point, Lee. I just Canelo wants it to be all about him and Mexico, don't he? He don't want there to be another Mexican fighter in his division, but unfortunately there is for him, and he's just eventually he's gonna have to face it.
And the Mexicans aren't stupid, are they? Very astute.
I have to say I didn't see the full fight. I've got to be honest, lads. I saw extended highlights, and I agree with Lee. I thought Plant was very, very, very good early. He gave him a lot of questions to answer, and clearly he did that in the second half of the fight. Plant's a very good fighter, isn't he? He's world level. He's just not elite. I think that's the difference there with the Benavidez fight and the Canelo fight. That's the only difference. I'd go as far as to say Plant was the next best fighter in that division in the world.
He doesn't duck either, does he? He doesn't duck.
He's a tough man. Sean?
Yeah, to echo what's been said already, really. But it was very impressive for him. Who he fights next? I think they'll keep it sort of PBC in-house and they'll chuck him in with Charlo.
Not bad, Jack?
Well, this is going to sound really repetitive and boring because I was stupidly impressed with
I'll mute you then.
Benavidez. I was really impressed with Benavidez, and I wanted to see Benavidez just have that one more fight before I wanted to see him in with Canelo. And after that, I do want to see that fight. I think it'll happen? Probably not. In the near future, and like Lee said, they're lining it up for Canelo to fight Bivol, which is a rematch I'm not really all that interested in because I think it'll be exactly the same way. But who they put Benavidez in with next, I don't know. Who's going to want to fight him? Do the PBC want to risk Charlo against Benavidez? Probably not, but
I'm not sure Charlo would take it. I don't think Charlo would take it.
I'm not sure he would.
History suggests not, doesn't it, Lee?
Benavidez beats him for me.
I
Yeah,
was very impressed with both fighters. Both had their successes, like we said, but it was a great spectacle. 2 top quality fighters going at it. So, but yeah, I think Benavidez will fight Canelo because I think he'll have to fight him because the Mexican fans are quite astute and they're going to want to see it on there.
Yeah.
So, jury's out on that one. So next up,
that's the best.
Go on, Jack.
The best I've seen Plant box for ages.
He was impressive.
Not that Plant's a bad fighter, he's not. But I think he was very impressive.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to bail out here, lads.
The first 4, 5.
I'll catch you next week.
Yeah, cheers, Lee.
Cheers, Lee. See you later, mate.
Weekend. Take care.
Yeah.
So, final topic of the night is one that I'm excited about. Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. The launch press conference in about an hour's time. I do think Lomachenko could possibly be past his best, if I'm honest. I'll give my other thoughts first. I think Devin Haney is already a special fighter. You know, what he's done in previous fights, going into fight his backyards, being slated for the start of the fight, in that he's the sweet science in my view, where it and don't get hit. I think, my personal opinion, I think he'll beat Lomachenko. But it promises to be a great fight. I mean, what Haney did to Kambosos, not many do in his own backyard. So I'll come to you first, Jack. What are your initial thoughts on the fight?
This is the fight I would have wanted to see for Undisputed, to be honest. This is to me. I don't know how much Loma's got left, and with how inactive he's been, I actually make Haney the favourite, and it's probably the first time I've watched Lomachenko and not made him the favourite. Fight. I just think the same as you. Maybe past his best. I still want to see it. Let's be honest. Stay up and watch it. And I saw today it's going to be on Sky Sports as well. So I'm right behind that one.
Yeah. Sean?
Yeah, I think Devin Haney's going to win as well. And I think it's going to be one of those fights where you sort of see a great champion sort of dwindle out, because I don't think Lomachenko's got a lot left at all. And I think sort of it's going to be a very comprehensive win for Devin Haney.
Daz, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, I pretty much echo Devin. Devin Haney's going to win. He's going to be too big and too good, I think. Maybe Lomachenko has gone a bit high weight-wise. You know, probably should have stayed. Did he turn pro? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did he turn pro as a feather? Super feather?
I think so. I think he was feather, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe he should have stayed around them two weights. Yeah, it's too big a jump for me. Against too good, they're too good, aren't they? You know, Haney's a special talent.
Yes.
You know, listen, I love watching. I love watching him. He's just pure class, and it'd be sad to see with Lomachenko. Really, there is a bit declining. It's just, but is he declining, or is the other guys just that good?
Devin Haney reminds me of me and my amateurs does.
He's up against, listen, I mean, we can't out what Lomachenko did as an amateur, but that many fights, he's going to take its toll. He were probably always going to have a bit of a shortish career as a professional, maybe. Yeah. But I think that I don't think it's a case of him sliding too much either. I think it's a case of the other guys are really good.
Yeah.
I think Lomachenko, when he was, let's say, at his best as a professional, I still think Haney beats him. I really do. And they're just, it's a different game, innit? I mean, listen, he did everything as an amateur and he looked spectacular. But I don't buy into the fact that Haney's going to beat him because Lomachenko's on slide. I think it's because he's against some really, really good fighters.
Let's have it right, Daz. Devin Haney gave Kambosos life and death in them fights, didn't it? It was different gravy, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate. He was just too good. Far too good.
Cheers, Daz. And
I just want to start by saying that Lomachenko's had an outstanding boxing career.
Yeah.
Paralleled by not very many at all. You could even argue he's the most decorated, potentially the most decorated fighter ever, with what he's achieved in his amateurs and his pro career.
Certainly in the modern era.
Yeah, outstanding talent. His movement, his footwork, his speed,
Just
exceptional. I just think I agree with Daz. I think he's gone one level, one weight too high.
Just to cut you off, though, just a bit of a point. Do you think he turned pro too late?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Because I do.
Yeah.
I think he stayed amateur too long.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But even when he did turn pro quite late, you're right in saying that he was always going to get to a point where he was going to be fighting the very, very top end, and he just wasn't going to be good enough anymore. And the weight's definitely a factor, though, Daz.
Yeah.
I think he could have stayed down at the lower weights and maybe lasted a few more years at the very top level.
I think if he'd stayed at feather, dominated at feather, maybe dominate at super feather, and then retire.
Yeah.
Then I mean, to be fair, when they put him in with Orlando Salido in his second fight, I mean,
No.
crazy, you know, and it was the pro. This is a crazy thing to say for someone who had 396 amateur fights. He got out hustled.
Yeah.
You know, in Salido, you know, pro'd him, you know, old man him, sort of thing. So it's a bit. It just shows you there's a big difference. I mean, Lomachenko's an elite amateur. You know, Salido fringe world level.
Yep.
You know, and then he's done that. It's a big difference. So I think everybody learned from that. Lomachenko, he learned from that, and then he had some bloody good wins. I mean, beating Gary Russell, beat some good fighters. But
$1 million crawler.
Yeah, quality wins. I mean, Luke beat Luke Campbell. Another one of ours. He beat some very good fighters. But I think going up a weight division, too many weight divisions, and then getting in with the absolute best at them weight divisions.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself up against it, I think.
Yeah, completely agree, mate. Yeah.
Okay. That brings us to the end of the show, Anders. So I'll let you take us out tonight because I've done a lot of talking. So I will let you take us out.
Thanks to everyone in the sidebar. Again, we've had some new names in the sidebar tonight. Keep it coming, guys. It's nice to have fresh voices giving their opinions. That's what this show's all about. Thanks to now regular Daz, Sean as always, Lee who's jumped off, and Jack who's jumped off. Thanks again, guys. Always great to have you on. Last Ball Boxing live every Thursday. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.